just really quite autobiographical. My best friend of 40 something years died of ovarian cancer in her late 40s. Uh, and I wanted to write about that friendship. I wanted to write about hospice. I wanted to write about loss and grief. And fiction, can be the best way to tell the truth most truly, um, because you're not constantly coming up against things you can't talk about. It's fiction. Like you can talk about anything. It's made up to a certain extent. So so I knew that if I was going to write about it, I was going to write it as a novel. And I wasn't sure. I had written a piece about it for the New York Times, like an essay, and that was great, but that was as much sort of nonfiction as I could tell, really, because parts of it weren't really my story. But a novel, you know, there's the there's the made upness of it. It gives you a certain amount of protection, I think, and protects the people you're writing about if you're writing about real people. So it was great. I had a great experience writing that way. So my friend and my real life friend was a major music lover and fan and influence on me. There's a photograph of her that the New York Times published of her and another friend of hers bringing a birthday cake to John Lennon, and getting it upstairs at the Dakota. So anyway, she was just a major music lover, and music was very much part of our lives. It was also part of her time in hospice. There was a music therapist. So I was thinking a lot about what we listened to, which was a ton of the Beatles, a lot of David Bowie, a lot of Talking Heads, that kind of stuff. And then a lot of like Nina Simone and it was a long friendship. So I have a lot of mixtapes from her, and they really span, there's like The Cure and Depeche Mode also in there. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, but it was very, and my family made me a playlist actually from the book, which is like the sweetest thing ever. That's a mix of songs from the book and songs that they knew that my friend and I had listened to, which is great. Such a gift. Some of it is remembered. Some of it I wrote down at the time. I mean, I'm a kind of chronicler of things, as writers tend to be. So I had a lot written down, and then some of it is imagined, just by hearing the voices a little bit. You're probably getting into that right about now with your book, like that weird feeling of, and it sounds so mystical, but almost like channeling, that you are this weird conduit. I mean, you're only a conduit, I realize, of your own imagination. It does not exist like in some Jungian sense, but there's something quite special about that feeling of writing stuff before you even have it consciously in your head. One of the main impulses of writing Sandwich was our family's utter love affair with the Cape. We've gone every summer multiple times since our son was born. So that's almost 25 years. We camp for a week. That's not in the book. We camp at Nickerson, which is in Brewster. And then we have rented the same little condo every summer. We rented the same one for like 20 years. They actually just stopped renting it, which was like a huge devastation to us. But anyway, we found a different one. And so I did, like, somebody asked me at a reading if this book could have been set anywhere else, and it couldn't have been. It is Cape Cod is very much like what the book is. Like that has to be the backdrop. And partly it's because I can't manage major cast of characters. So if you take everyone out on vacation, then a lot of their lives drop away. You don't have work, you don't have just like extraneous friends. Partly that, just laziness on my part and a lack of talent. And the other part is just the incredible layers of memories of a place where you've gone every summer with your kids, where your kids have grown up, and so every summer holds all of their past selves in it, like nested dolls. So I really wanted to write that. Momentum is a huge piece of the writing process for me. This feeling of moving always forward. Like I don't sit down every day and edit what I wrote yesterday. I think that kills a lot of people, if I'm being honest. I think you can end up with one very good chapter if you write that way. It'll be so polished and good, but you just have to move forward. So I write with a great sense of urgency and momentum. I took a ton of notes. There were a few summers where I did some obsessive note taking on the Cape. I wrote down everything we overheard people say on the beach, and just tons of description, just of the Cape itself, of the sky every day. And so I had tons of notes that were very Cape Cod specific, which was a huge gift when I sat down to write, because those were actually like handwritten. I don't handwrite, like that's not how I write, but my notes were handwritten and I could just leaf through them and kind of cross stuff out as I used it, and it was really great. But I don't think I would have written on the Cape, just because it's such a it's like this very magic vacation space for me. Like I try not to even bring my laptop when we go. It's like that.